Just doing a test of the mics.
If someone's talking, I can't hear them.
Hey, Paul, it's Kathy. We haven't started just yet.
Thanks, Kath.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. This is, at the last moment, I found that I was going to be chair, so we'll see how it goes today. First of all, we got Jared Panchinowski and Paul Magnan is on the phone. The rest of the trustees are here. Don't know whether I have to say all the names. And we got the secretary treasurer and the superintendent and assistant superintendent in attendance. We have one person in person attendance, which is Serena Kloss, which is the STA president. Welcome. We expect to see you more often. Okay. So, and my computer's going very slow, so I might use a phone, so I will switch from the computer to the phone from time to time. So we will stand for O Canada. However, before we will play O Canada, before we play O Canada, we'll have a minute of silence in honor of the Queen. We will now have Trustee Harris do the treaty acknowledgement.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
We will now have the adoption agenda. The motion will be resolved that the board approve the agenda. Do we have a seconder? Sorry, we have a mover and then a seconder. Robin moves it. We have a seconder. And Russ seconds it. Is there any question about the agenda? If not, we'll vote. So it's passed 8-0. I also forgot to mention that Art Berry wasn't in attendance. He sent his regrets. Okay. Next one is Chair's comments. It said, send all questions to Jody Thiessen at sunrise.ca. Make sure you include your name, your address of the sender, and address is not a box number. It should be your civic address. And the meeting is being videotaped. For those people at home will know that because they're watching it, and we know that we always videotape it. Okay, then we go to share a story. Is any trustee who would like to share a story?
Just having to share that I passed through Sunrise Springfield Collegiate Institute. I passed by there today and noticed that the windows are in. So nice to know that there's light coming in the building. So it looks good.
Okay, thank you. I think, oh, that's Paul. So, Paul, you wanted to share a story too? Okay, we'll just give you time. We're not rushing. There might be other people. I thought that's
Go ahead, go around the room.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to share a story? Okay, Diane?
I just wanted to share that Russ and I attended the Northeastman Forum last week in Haddishville, which was very nice to see. They got improvements on their offices there, and we had a nice little gathering. And we have attended these meetings off and on for the last couple of years, some of our trustees, and it's always great to go there and hear from our Minister Iwasco and all the heads representing different areas of the Eastman region. And when they arrive, they come and they share their challenges and successes of what's been going on in their areas. And as a trustee and with Kathy and Jody and as Sunrise School Division, to listen and hear the challenges that are going on in our areas where our students are is always very informative and rewarding to hear the enthusiasm and successes. And it was another great meeting, and I wanted to say that we had all kind of made comments, the fact that this is our end of our 4 years term for all the elected officials that were at that meeting, all their councillors and mayors and whatnot. You know, we're all coming to the end of our terms, and I just wanted to commend all of them for their service and everybody here for the hard work that we always try to do for our fellow neighbors. And I was just very proud of all the successes that we had accomplished Sunrise, and I made a point of letting them know that I'm very proud of our work during COVID. Lots of smaller successes along the way that we've had as a board, implementing new policies, getting rid of the green church or extra asset, I guess. And I'm just very proud of all of our work, so I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work, and good luck in our upcoming elections as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I can go. Any other trustees want to share? I'm going to share one. It was great to be at Poverty School and seeing kids going, and they had a gym riot already, so you know, getting kids involved and excited. And they had a barbecue, as many schools do, staff and parents barbecue, and it was great to see lots of people out. And is it fair to say, Kath, that it's trying to be as normal as possible back in the school year? And so it was really good to see, certainly, you know, our first start of where school was. So I'm pretty happy about that. Anyone else? Go ahead.
think I shared at a previous meeting, we had some teachers who were doing some educational work at the Manitoba Teacher Society. We also have Chelsea Lowry from Ecole Beaux-Arts Early Years who's doing some workplace safety and health committee work with the Manitoba Teacher Society. And we have put forward 2 names of teachers for the numeracy and literacy assessments that are being developed at the grade 10 level. So we have some staff who are working hard with both the province and doing some great things.
So my question with the CAF is, do we know those names? And until, I guess, is it MTS goes ahead and...
Manitoba Education.
Oh, Manitoba Education. Until they list it, we'll see where we get to. Thanks, Kath. Anyone else? Robin, did you have one? Anyone? Go ahead, Don.
I just like to mention that I visited Whitemore School the other day and visited all the rooms, and it was interesting to see the enthusiasm in the kindergarten class, because that's the class that I usually go to, because that's the students that I don't know. The other ones I do know. So, but I also was amazed when I walked in there. I didn't think there was anybody at school because it was so quiet. Then I looked in the rooms, and everybody was diligently working away and knowing the hallways, no one causing trouble. So I guess it's back to normal.
That's a good comment, Don, because Chrissy Visna, the new principal out in Powerview, said to me, hey, Paul, take a look up and down the hallways, and it's a pretty long hallway in Powerview, and there weren't any kids in the hallway at all, and she was kind of just showing, I'm the new principal, and things are going pretty good. So it was really good to see, and you know what, I'm sure that was in many of our schools, so kudos to our groups getting back together. Thanks. We have... So Chair's comments is that I did share with the board that's the stuff coming out from MSBA, the board chairs, about starting up at schools. Certainly about the elections, the school boards were trying to support as many ridings and promote elections in the ridings. I have not heard, and I think that we will only hear from Crystal, I think, as of on Thursday. Our SEO will let us know on Thursday, certainly where we stand with our wards. I haven't heard. I did keep in touch with her while I was away, just about how things were going, and it seemed like things were going pretty good. So I don't have any update, unless you want to add anything, the two of you. No? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so I'm going to work off my phone, Don, until I get my computer up and running here. But I do think that we have a parent delegation, so I'm going to let Kathy introduce our parent delegation, or, okay, yeah.
So I believe we have Giselle Johnson and Joshua Nelson Thiessen who are going to speak to you about a delegation that they have a transportation request. So the floor is all yours.
Just before we go, Giselle, and what the board will do is we'll listen to everything that you have to go ahead and say. The board certainly can go ahead and ask clarifying questions to you if we want to get some more understanding. We will then deliberate and then let Kathy know, and Kathy then would get back to you. And I think that there's a timeline for us to go ahead and do that. 3 days, she's showing me. So that's something that we'll do that tonight. We'll deliberate tonight at the end of our meeting and then get back to you. Fair enough? Okay.
Good evening. I'm speaking in regards to our bus route for my son, Elias Nelson, who has just started grade 1 at Parvey School. We are asking that he be picked up from our driveway at 1 Olafson Boulevard in Victoria Beach. Last year, we were given a drop-off and pickup location at the last stop on the then current bus route. We parked on the side of the highway and stood at the end of the driveway with the 2 girls who live there. Last September, my spouse emailed the transportation supervisor to see if we could have him picked up from our home, but received no reply. This summer, I was informed that neither of the girls at the stop are attending Parvey School this year. I emailed the Transportation Department's Jason Ziprick to see if we needed to fill out a new stop request form or if there were any other steps we needed to take to put forth our request. The reply was that they are not adding any new home pickups to the route and that our location on Olafson is not conducive to turn a bus around safely in winter. Our new stop was to be the community center, which is just slightly farther than our stop last year. The truth is, the intersection where our driveway is, at the end of Highway 504, is quite large. It is the area that truck and trailers turn around to launch their boats and unload their ATVs and snowmobiles. The garbage and recycling truck and RM cleaning crews also use the area for turning around and unloading. It is maintained throughout the year. There is also a bus from the Lord Selkirk School Division that passes by daily. I spoke to the bus driver, who is willing to stop at our home, but says she asked and was told she is not allowed to go beyond the intersection turning into Victoria Beach. She even offered to do a test run for herself to check the distance and the intersection, yet still received a hard no. So some of the issues we faced last year. First of all, my mother, who is in her late 70s, does a lot of the picking up and dropping off when we are at work. It is
It's becoming increasingly difficult and inconvenient for her to start her car and load and buckle our son for the 2-minute drive. It really doesn't make much sense when they can just go north. There were a few instances where a coyote was near while we're standing out and waiting for the bus. At home we have 2 large dogs that would provide a level of comfort, as they always alert us to wildlife and keep them at bay.
In the winter, we were sometimes parked in the middle of the road because the shoulders were not plowed and we became a hazard to any other vehicles. Although the community center is a better stop than the highway, it is far from ideal. I was informed that policy states children should not be on the bus for more than an hour, but the difference in distance is minimal. From the 59-504 intersection, the bus can either go 0.5 kilometers west to the community center or 2.1 kilometers north to our home. That is just under 2 minutes of difference in time added. I'm having a hard time understanding why this is not feasible. If there is a monthly fee that is required to go the extra distance, we are willing to pay. Sorry. I understand that as a board there has to be lines drawn, because if you go 1 extra mile for one person, it can ripple effect and the next will ask for 1 more mile. In our situation, there is no one else beyond us. We are asking and really hoping that our home address can be added as a stop on our bus route. I don't know what my problem is. My family has been part of the Agassiz Sunrise School Division for many years. In the 1940s, my grandfather fought to have the,
So not my family, her family. In the 1940s, her grandfather fought to have the Parview School built at the location it currently sits. Her mother and her siblings all attended there and graduated from there. She attended French immersion from kindergarten to grade 3 in Parview. Our son now attends Parview School on a choice that he wants French immersion. You got it?
Yeah. So I attended French immersion from kindergarten to grade 3 in Parview, then moved to Beausejour to continue my studies in French. I have 4 children. The eldest 3 also attended school in Beausejour, of which the older 2 both graduated with their French diplomas. We have been fortunate that my spouse, who works for the RCMP, was transferred to Parview, where we have the option to send our youngest to French immersion as well. We hope to keep his school experience a positive one. It may be possible to find childcare with someone who is more physically able to manage the task of driving him to and from the bus, but in doing so, we could be sacrificing the quality of care he gets.
The knowledge and experience that my mother's many years, her mother's, has to offer our son is irreplaceable. We are blessed that he gets to spend so much time with his grandmother, who is the best representation of patience and kindness he will ever have the privilege to know. Thank you for your time.
If we put both microphones on at the same time, we'll get a good one. So it's never easy to come in front of this group here, so thanks for going ahead and doing that. And thanks for the preparation, certainly as to where you have. Are there any questions that we have for Giselle and Joshua? Go ahead, Karen.
I don't want you to give your address away in public. Where along 504 are you? Did you?
Oh, sorry. We're right at the end, so the stop sign right there, that's where our driveway is.
So
North, yes.
Yeah, so when 59 turns into kind of Victoria Beach restricted area, well, you just have to go 2 kilometers north, and our driveway is right at the corner. I've asked the RM of Victoria Beach to ensure that between our driveway, because I'm on call between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. for police matters, I've asked them to make sure that that is clear, so that if there is an emergency between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., that I can quickly jet out of there. I haven't received a response yet, but I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Anyone else? So Giselle and Josh, just clarification. You live in the Lord Selkirk School Division, right? Okay.
That's correct.
Anyone else?
All right. I have a question.
Go ahead, Trustee Pachkowski.
So first off, just I'm on the phone, and so it's tough to hear a little bit of it, but appreciate you two coming in front of the board. As Paul mentioned, it's not an easy thing to do. Joshua, I think I heard you were a service member, and obviously appreciate what you do in our communities as well. I guess from listening to what you guys had said, and as a parent of children in school, also in the French immersion program, I understand the difficulties, but I guess the question I would ask is, as a trustee in the Sunrise School Division, how do I explain to other constituents who are in the same position as you guys, how would I explain to them that we've allowed one person to do it and not another?
Very good question. I understand the difficulty when it would come to the financial burden on others. That's where we would, if the board would grant us, we would offer to pay that extra 2 kilometers of diesel or whatever it may be. So if that was the hard issue, then we would take that financial burden. But I don't think that the distance from children being on the bus for less than an hour, I don't think that should be the, I don't think that should be the, because they're on the bus for less than an hour anyways. So policy would dictate, and coming from a person who has, policy dictates our life with police work. When we have, the criminal code and policy and the RCMP policy, right, if the policy said that it was less than an hour, it's still less than an hour. So, like Elias is still within policy to be on the bus, even if they went the extra 2 kilometers.
Thank you. Anything further, Trustee Pachkowski?
No, just again, thank you for coming, and I appreciate your time.
Okay. Trustee Nicol?
How long does it take you, when your son goes on the bus, how long does it take him to get to Powerview?
So from our house, I think right now is about 46 minutes.
What are you on the bus?
When he's on the bus, yeah. So we leave our house at 7:40 in the morning to drop him off at the bus at 7:50. He then gets to school at, I think it's 8:45.
It's a little earlier than that.
Yeah. 'Cause what happens is that Elias gets to school, and then the bus does another route. So it picks up all the kids on Highway 11, and then drops him off, and then we'll do another route in like North Shore area or in Powerview. Yeah. So he gets to school, like, I think 15 minutes early that he should really actually get there. And then lately when I've been working, I just take him to work myself and then drop him off at school because it doesn't make sense for him to be there for an extra half an hour when he doesn't have to be.
Thank you. Anyone else? Diane, Trustee Duma?
You made a statement, and I didn't quite catch it, and it had to do with something, a comparison of the drive versus going to the community club? You did a comparison of mileage there. Could you explain it a bit?
So from the intersection where they would turn to go to the community center, that would be 0.5 kilometers to get to the community center. If they just went straight north instead, it's 2.1 kilometers. So I did the timing. I had my vehicle on cruise. To go to the community center took me 42 seconds, and to go from that same intersection to home took 1 minute and 56 seconds.
There's no one else further north than us. So, like, it kind of made sense before when they were picking up 3 kids at one stop that we would go to the intersection where they were, kind of near the community club. But now there's nobody else. So it's just us.
Anyone else? Trustee Bowen?
So to be clear, the stop was closer to the intersection and those children are no longer at that stop. That was the closest stop in Sunrise that you could link up to. And are you aware of any, like the next stop that you would be able to link up to that would be on that route, or other families where you could link onto the route?
There's no other families there.
On that, I think it's on David Road would be the next stop, which is another, I guess, I'm not sure how far that stop is. I never really checked, but I'd say maybe a mile.
I think typically what the bus driver did is when you're coming up 59, she would take David Road and then come up the back route just to pick up Elias and the 2 other kids. But now there's no other reason to go down David Road. It's just 59 past the intersection and then right to our house. Because there's no one else through David Road. Because she used to do that route. It was easier to turn around the bus to go down David Road. But now she doesn't have to go down that way at all.
Thanks, Trustee Nicol.
Do I understand that your son the first one on the bus?
Yeah, Elias is the first and the last. So he's the first pickup and the last drop off.
So just clarification when you talked, Giselle and Joshua, when you talked about the hour bus ride. If I'm not mistaken, students that are in our catchment area, it's an hour. But if you're outside of our catchment area, the hour doesn't apply, just to give you a heads up. So when the province came out with that, they didn't want to have kids, and nobody wants to, let's be honest, nobody wants to have kids on the bus for longer than an hour. I remember at Powerview School as a principal, kids were falling asleep if we had them on the bus too long, particularly younger ones. But it's within our catchment is where the guideline is, about an hour. Just to clarify for you. Anything else for anyone? Questions?
Pachkowski has another question.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess it's a question. I don't know if it's for the parents though. I'm just wondering if Jody, if you can speak to it, maybe. Was this a route that was previously done by us, or have we ever had a route out that way? As I'm just sort of trying to gather from the conversation, and I don't know that I'm understanding that. So I guess my question is: was the route changed to not include this area just because of the stops that were there, or was this a route that we previously ran and we just changed our route?
Trustee Pachkowski, you're allowed to ask clarifying questions, just so that you know. You can ask those questions certainly when we're discussing, but the information certainly for the parents is, do we have any questions for the parents? So I hear what you're asking, but I'm not going to let you ask it. I'm going to let you say is that you can ask clarifying.
Okay, so I'll ask the parents, and are they aware if one of our buses went by their place earlier before?
We're unsure if there's ever been a Sunrise School Division bus going past our house, but there's a Lord Selkirk school bus who lives, I think it's like half a kilometer away from our house, and he drives that same route almost every day. So the bus can for sure facilitate that area.
If I don't have any other questions, Giselle and Josh, thanks for coming and presenting to us. We will get back to you. It's never easy about coming in, and we appreciate you coming in and talking to us. We'll certainly get back to you, and we'll give you some rationale as to the decision as well.
Thank you for everything.
Kathy said you had to stay for the rest of the meeting. No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't. Just kidding. All right. Thank you very much. And now we have Jody, one of your, do you want to introduce him?
Yeah. All right. Good evening, everybody. So I think on our board meeting schedules, we like to have a presentation either by our education department or an education facility in one of our schools or one of our operational departments. And tonight we get to feature the wonderful maintenance department and all the hard workings that they've been up to, and see what they've been up to with over their summer projects. And we've also included some wonderful pictures in our slideshow tonight. So I think I'll let Derek take it away.
All right, hi everyone, and I hope you enjoy my presentation today. You worked hard on it, and I think you guys would be impressed with all the great things that happened in Sunrise School Division over the last few months, especially in the summer. The maintenance department consists of managing 13 school sites, Sunrise Business Center, Education Center, and Power and Transportation facilities in Beausejour, and 2 Oakbank garages in Beausejour and in Oakbank, 1, and leased facilities. The awesome maintenance team consists of administrative secretary, workplace health and safety support staff, caretakers, and cleaners. And we look after approximately 860,000 square feet of buildings. Projects within Sunrise. Now this is where it can get pretty interesting. Just getting off of COVID, a lot of things have changed how projects are done, especially on scheduling and the issues that we are faced with during the construction. Building envelope, for example, at Eco Edward School, total estimated costs, $2.5 million. As you see in the picture, we've got walls that have blue skin on, no windows, no insulation, or no brick. Reason being, window supply delay issues, believe it or not, due to paint shortage, color white. Sherwin-Williams cannot find white in all of the U.S. or in Canada. Glass delivery timelines, incredibly long. Backlog of orders. So for example, if you have 500 projects going on in Manitoba that require glass, if we're number 186, we're at 186. So it takes forever for us to get the glaze we need for the facilities. We're going to see through this presentation, I'm going to be referring to lots of delays in projects related to delivery dates. It could be installation of materials for unit ventilators, windows, door hardware, doors, frames, you name it, there's a delay. Science lab classroom renewal, we have 3 of them currently going on in our division, totaling approximately $2.5 million. We have 1 in Lac du Bonnet Senior and Whitemount School. Completion estimated date, December 31st, 2022. Parview School. Completion date for Parview School is tentatively set for August 22nd of this year. Now we're into January 31st of 2023. Delays on the blower for the ERV unit, which is the ventilation equipment. We're waiting for a motor and a microchip for that unit. So they're telling us January 31st of 2023. Am I hopeful that it's going to be ready then? No. Because every month we get close to the timeline, it's changing. Springfield Collegiate. I'm actually surprised they still have Heritage project going on. Very large project. Started in May, early May. Project estimated value is $6.6 million. The project consists of a roof replacement, partial roof replacement, new exterior walls, HVAC system upgrade, which was huge. A lot of piping. We had to gut the whole entire inside of the school to get the piping in. 4-pipe system for the heating and the air conditioning. We have delays in this project. We're very fortunate to get windows. As you can see in the pictures, all the windows are in now, as of last Friday, which is huge for us. Because without windows, you can't do any of your wall insulation. You can't start putting your brick on. We do have a unit ventilator delays. Again, microchips for the controls, still not available. Delivery time for these units, November of this year. We're hopeful. We're looking at different things regarding what do we do. We were prepared when we started this project. We knew with COVID and all the issues with the delivery of materials and units that we required for this project, we came up with a plan. Plan B, meaning we kept the old existing unit ventilators to rehook them up, to carry us through to the cold months. That's what we'll be doing now, hooking them up. Once the new ones come in November, hopefully, we're going to be removing them, the old ones, existing ones, replacing with the new. Again, very tough times to deal with a project this big. Again, window deliveries were an issue. We're lucky, fortunate to get them in. Door frames finally arrived today. Been ordered way back probably in May. Everything is a delay. We look at the project overall, very fortunate that we are today with the hard work with the general contract that we have for that job, working as a team to get it done. Replacement of water faucets and fountains, 40% of the project is complete. Estimated date of completion is unknown due to supply chain issues. Nobody's given us a secure date because they don't have one. I'd rather them tell us they don't have a secure date instead of telling us, okay, it's going to be in next week, because next week never happens. We can't operate on what next week will bring. We got to know secure scheduling dates for our stuff. General roof maintenance. We've done a lot of roof maintenance in our schools. This year we've done Enola, Dugald, Equator Charter School, Gillis, Hazeridge, Loch Bonnie Senior, Eco Parview, Springfield Middle School, and Oak Bank Bus Garage. We do this roofing maintenance every year through various buildings in our division as a preventative roofing maintenance program which will add years of life to our buildings of the roof structures. Window replacements. We've done window replacements at Whitemount School and Oak Bank Elementary and Enola. It helps reduce the energy cost of our facilities. It also eliminates air drafts that no one appreciates when it's minus 40 outside. And also increase the UV protection. Cleaning equipment. We purchase cleaning equipment to replace existing equipment or found deficiency with new equipment. Bossier Earliers, Eco Bossier Earliers, Oak Bank Elementary, Whitemount School, Eco Parview School, and Centennial School all receive some replacement of equipment, may it be a vacuum cleaner, floor washer, or an orbital floor scrubber. The little machine on the top of the picture with the little red square pad and the yellow cord hanging on it is an orbital floor stripping machine. That machine costs us roughly $5,000. A lot of money for a little machine. That machine pays for itself in 2 months during the summer. No longer do we use floor stripping chemicals to strip the floors, dry strip, and also saves on a lot of labor, and it's very efficient, which allows the custodial staff to pick up on different projects, such as painting. Renovations for Dugald School, Eco Dugald School Library. We've completed the flooring replacement, which is all brand new carpet, library shelving, new LED lighting, and painting. Long overdue. We also did the computer workstations in the corner that you can see in the picture. Camera upgrades throughout the division. Our cameras were originally funded by the province of Manitoba in 2014 for approximately $1 million. They're getting old. They're getting tired. So we have been doing some upgrades. Again, Eco-Edge Higher School and Oak Bank Elementary have some upgrades. It's going to help the higher resolution of the cameras, and we're also upgrading the network recorders for better overall technology. We have approximately 350 cameras in our division. Each camera to replace, if we were to replace them all at once and they went down, is roughly $500 each. Fire alarm upgrades. Improvements to Springfield Middle School and Gillis School. Some equipment is showing signs of life-ending signs where it's becoming difficult when it goes into system failure. Difficult to find parts. So we're upgrading now to a system that's more reliable and much easier to receive parts. Locker replacement, Springfield Middle School. It's a good reason why we're putting lockers in Springfield Middle School. Additional students require lockers. And we're also going to be visiting that school because potentially we'll be looking at a potential modular classroom for that site. Washroom upgrades. Hazelwood School. We did the boys and girls washrooms, new sinks, motion action faucets, saving on hot water usage due to taps being left on by young students. We get to turn them off. Also, believe it or not, prolongs the life of the hot water tank because the hot water is not getting drained instead of reheating. So we found savings that over the years by putting these taps in that we're replacing hot water tanks as much. Divisional flooring upgrades, we've done total approximately $44,000 in flooring upgrades, replacing flooring as required because it is age expired, always, classrooms, bathrooms, etc. Lighting upgrades. Upgrades for the lighting is for better lighting and more efficiency of the lighting, lower costs, which helps my budget do some other projects at the end of the day. We've done lighting upgrades in Eco Dugald Library, Eco Bossier Early Years, Oak Bank Elementary, and Centennial School. Also, when we do this lighting upgrades, we apply for Manitoba Efficiency Lighting Program rebates. As you can see, our total rebates we get on our project up to date was $6,250. That almost pays for 2 classrooms to upgrade lightings free of charge. Medicine School Program, Medicine School Control Upgrades. What it does is it increases the building performance for all our HVAC controls. So we can go into our system, we can put schedules on all our controls for our air handling units, for anything related to HVAC. So we're not running everything at peak during times when there's no students in the school. Future projects. Always future projects in Sunrise. Future project, Oak Bank Elementary. A roofing replacement, estimated value $750,000. Springfield Collegiate will be going through another project of a science lab, approximately $1 million. We are working currently on modular classrooms for 3 of our school locations in Sunrise due to the capacity levels at max for students. Eco Bossier Early Years, Eco Dugald School, and Oak Bank Elementary. We're currently working on a project in Whitemouth with the Whitemouth School Daycare Project within the school. It will be sized for 24 children, ages 2 to 6 years old. Challenges with the project, like I mentioned earlier, again, labor is a big thing. Hard to find people to do the job. Never mind the material supply demand, which is a big issue that everyone's experiencing right across the world. One of the things I seldom seem to, discuss at a meeting, I think it's very important. I took the time to make sure I acknowledge people. Thank yous are a big thing. Springfield Collegiate, for example, $6.6 million plus for that project. Principal Kevin Dell and Assistant Principal Carol Blocker and the team of staff for the patience and also offering assistance in any way to make things smoother that the school startup was greatly appreciated. If I can't explain what the school looked like 2 weeks before school was opening. People that walked in there said you'll never be ready. I seen things at the extreme worst. I knew it would be ready. People figured I was losing it. Overall, again, it's because of the people in that facility that made a huge difference. Custodial staff. That school was probably cleaned 3 or 4 times prior to school opening up a week before. When we finished cleaning the school on a Friday, you come in Monday morning, you think Hurricane Mitch hit it. Back to the grind. Bring all the staff from other school facilities to come to SCI to assist the custodial staff to get that school ready again. Same thing again, do over and over until the opening day. They worked long hours, shifted their schedules, left their school sites to accommodate Springfield Collegiate. Team effort. Enjoyable to see. Custodial staff are very flexible with the schedules to assist all general trades with all their projects in Sunrise. Not just the one, all of them. And I must say this, people don't realize it's 7 days a week. They're getting called in on a Saturday to open up the school for contracts to come in. They're getting called on a Sunday. They're getting called in for alarm call. Something happened to the alarm system. That's 7 days a week, dedicated staff. Very proud and very fortunate. Thank you to all the school administrators, staff, and the students for their patience in supporting our maintenance team during these projects. Big thank you. A lot of people forget about these people. General contractors, sub-trades, architects, working long hours to ensure that all our facilities are ready for school opening day, as they've had many and will continue to have many challenges ahead of them due to delivery dates of products. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. I'm going to say some comments, but anybody want to comment? Karen?
Couple of things. Are the indoor showers fixed at SCI? And what did you say that Oakbank Elementary's future project was? I missed it. Sorry, Derek.
It's a roofing replacement, partial roof replacement.
Anyone else? Trustee Duma?
I'm just amazed at how much work is getting done under the pressure that you're under. So kudos to all the hard work that's being done for sure. And even the weather with the rain that we had when things started and all open holes in walls. So it's quite amazing. I did drive by the high school today just to have a peek, and everything's quite safely fenced in and the windows were in, so it looked like it's slowly coming together. One question I had was, I know there's all this stuff going on. Is there a future look at yards, playgrounds? Like, is that something that you look at down the road? It's not in the plans for now, but just a quick overview of how the playgrounds are doing across the division. Are there some that are eating a lot, or?
Overall, our playgrounds are in fairly good shape. There's some maintenance work that's required to probably play structures themselves. We do a yearly maintenance work to our facilities, grounds when required for drainage or fencing repairs. It is, overall, we spent in the last few years a lot of work on maintenance in the school grounds. Overall, I think our grounds are in fairly great condition. And if something does arise, we do try to look after it.
Anyone else? Derek, I want to say, thank you for pointing out for our staff about the work that they've done, about helping getting things underway. I do remember a telephone call that you and I had in the middle of, or the beginning of August, and you know, about where schools were, and again, great about opening, so kudos to you and your staff for getting our schools in the shape that they're in, considering the projects. You and I talked a little bit about it, somewhere around $11-12 million in capital projects from the province. People could say to us, then why did we start this, and if they weren't going to be ready for September? And well, while the government was giving money out, it was kind of the best decision that was certainly made for us, is let's cash in, and certainly thank you to the province for giving us that money, about going ahead and doing it. Yeah, we need to work around some of those things, but if we would have turned it down, we're probably not getting those things done. So kudos to the group that made those decisions about it. But that's certainly why some of the public are asking, well, if we don't have it all done right away, why do it? Well, guess what? It's $11 million, and $11 million comes our way for capital projects. We're good. You also talked about all the other things, you know, about the projects that this board provides dollars to you for us to go ahead and do upgrades and maintenance projects that you decide on, and as to going ahead and doing. You talked about them throughout the school division, and yeah, those are things that, again, we can't control, certainly supply and demand, but putting those things in place, good for you as to the work that you did, as to where you are. Yeah, I just wanted to say kudos. Kath, did you want to join in?
I just want to take a chance to say thank you to you and your team, because you've highlighted the big projects for us and the provincial money and those kinds of things. But there's day-to-day things like hanging mosaic tiles, and we've run out of garbage bags, and all of the other things, or we need to install new picnic tables. Some of those smaller projects that our principals, I think, come running to the maintenance department and thank you individually, but wanted to just say thanks on behalf of the schools for the day-to-day stuff that you do for them that maybe doesn't make the highlight reel. Thank you for that.
Anyone else? Trustee Duma?
I just think it's important to note that we had the science labs on our capital project list for, I think, 20 years. So you're definitely not going to say no when it's offered, for sure. So that's good, and I guess down the road, something at SCI, you mentioned that might be a future project. The other thing I think that is important to add in is that you don't work alone. You do have only one admin executive assistant, I believe, who's probably just as busy as you are right now. So I think we also need to give kudos to your assistant who's helping you too.
So Derek, when schools make presentations, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
A great presentation, and it's really exciting to see all the work being done in the schools, and to know that everything is being refreshed for all the kids coming, and wonderful news, and I hope you're doing well, first of all. But also, that MetaSys school control, is that in every school right now? And I also wanted to ask about the flooring. You said you did upgrades to flooring. I saw pictures of Dougal, but was there other schools involved with that?
All of our schools have a MetaSys system in there, which again improves the efficiency operating of our system. We're doing jobs at the Beauce Potation Garage. We've done at Gillis School. We've done at Ecole Dougal, and that's what it off the top of my head.
So Derek, I give opportunities for all the schools now that you've got 8 trustees here, because there's 8 of us that are here. And as we talk about, as we'll look for the future, and depending on how many of the trustees are still here after elections, but your opportunity to voice as we look to budget coming through, what's something that you need?
I'm very confident, very lucky support I have regarding my budget. We have a lot of funds that are available for capital projects, preventive maintenance. I think that we're doing well with it. Our schools are in very good shape. It was difficult to get to the point we are now because of years in the past where the money wasn't available. It made a big difference for us. So we are, overall, I think it's just as long as my budget, maintenance budget stays within where we are right now, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Thanks, Derek. I think Russ, Trustee Reed has a question.
Yeah, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that I see the guys working on the roof at Lac Bonnie Senior every day, and they're doing a good job from what I can tell. And they're always there and working hard anyway, so kudos.
Thanks, Russ. Trustee Harris?
We always like talking education at this table, but the underdogs out there are the maintenance staff. And I'm sure over the last couple of years, with all the additional COVID cleaning they've had to do, I'm sure they're thankful that they're not needing to do that now. But a question for you. So all the windows are going to show up tomorrow with ESS. You're going to be out there with a hammer and helping them out?
I better make comment.
Anyways, thanks very much, Derek. We appreciate you coming in and taking the time to go ahead and do this. It's always good information for us. And yeah, great work. And you know, the rest of the jobs, let's get them done as quickly as we can as you're working towards. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also I want to wish everyone good luck on the election, upcoming trustee election. And the ones that are not running, that I don't know who is or who isn't running, thank you for all the work that you have provided to Sunrise School Division over the years. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. All right, we're going to move on. We have our minutes. So be it resolved, the board adopt the minutes of September the 6th. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Harris, seconded by Trustee Nicol. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll vote. So we passed 6-2 with one being absent, so there's 8 of us. Thank you. We have a superintendent's report. Kath?
Awesome, thank you. You have my report in front of you. A couple of quick highlights. Just reminder that we have Friday, which is a day in recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. So on September 30th, our schools are closed, and we are participating in a lot of activities during that week to acknowledge the harm that the residential school system has caused to Indigenous peoples and to commemorate the children who died in the system, honoring survivors in their communities and encouraging Manitobans to come together and do the same. It's an important day, and I have encouraged all of the people in our system to be models in terms of what they do on that day. I also want to highlight that the week of September 26th and 30th, and this is not in the report, is proclaimed as School Support Staff Recognition Week. And again, I think, Trustee Harris, you said it's oftentimes the people behind the scenes who do a lot of the work. So this proclamation is intended to increase public awareness of the many services and contributions that school support staff make to students and schools. It provides an opportunity to recognize and acknowledge the valuable work being done by school support staff as they dedicate themselves to supporting the education of kindergarten to grade 12 students in our province. It is our hope that the observance of School Support Staff Recognition Week in Manitoba will provide educators, parents, and community members with many opportunities to thank school support staff for the valuable role that they play in schools and in the education of our students. So I wanted to bring that to this group's attention because next week is indeed School Support Staff Recognition Week. Also had an announcement from Manitoba Education in terms of a partnership and providing free menstrual products to students free of charge. So that information will be shared once we get some more information or some more details about that. And then the last reminder again, Paul, you said at the beginning that it's lovely to be in schools and we are normal or as normal as we can be, and we're still trying to be safe and we're still trying to be healthy. And some of the most important things are that if you're sick, stay home, follow that good and frequent hand hygiene, and respecting the mask choices of people, if they're wearing them or not wearing them, because we want to make sure that everybody is staying safe. As the weather hopefully doesn't turn until we have windows and insulation and bricks and the like, but as we get forced indoors in a Manitoba winter, sometimes those germs propagate, and if you need some antigen tests, we have some of those that we can provide out to folks if needed. Unless there are questions, that is my report.
Trustee Nicol?
September 30th is the day that we usually figure out the enrollment. So is it going to be the Thursday or is it going to be the Monday?
It is indeed September 29th, the Thursday. So the official enrollment information system count is Thursday, September 29th. For our kindergarten students who attend alternating days, we will count on the 28th for kindergarten students and then the 29th for everybody. Great question.
Anyone else? Questions for Kath? Thanks, Kath. 6.2 is for information for the board about a draft reporting schedule. It's there for you to take a look at, the stuff that Kathy follows that we've set with Kathy. Is there anything, any questions on that? It's something that we will continue to put on here. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Secretary Treasurer's report, Jody?
Just to give the board a little bit of update of what's been going on in our operational departments. We saw tonight, clearly the maintenance department has been busy with summer projects, and they're still ongoing with ESS and SCI, working on the science lab renewal project. And definitely met with Whitemouth Daycare Committee regarding the design and the layout for the space designated for the daycare, as Derek mentioned earlier. So we're looking forward to seeing what this is going to look like. We're also looking at the exterior spaces, keeping in mind parking, fenced-in play space area. So lots of discussion on that. I think it's all good discussion. The committee is coming up with wonderful ideas and a lot of communication happening, so it's really nice to see. The transportation side, they're definitely busy with reviewing all eligible students for their pickups and ensuring that everybody's on the bus where they need to be. They're also receiving requests for non-eligible busing requests. So that they usually look at by the end of September to make sure all our resident, or eligible, I should say, eligible busing students are on the bus. And then from that point, they'll take a look and see if there's any spaces to fill on the bus, if they're en route and things like that. So they're definitely a busy office right now. The finance department, they're busy preparing for year end, talking with the auditors, getting all that prep work started or underway, I should say. So preliminary statements will be probably available shortly, along with hoping to meet with the auditors by October to have the audited financial statements ready. We did fill a 0.2 FTE, so about a 7-hour-a-week position. So that's to fill in a position that was adjusted from a full-time down to a 0.8. So we filled the position September 16th, so yeah, we'll see some good work coming out of there. ICT, very busy with their school startup. They have been down by one tech, unfortunately, at the start of school. We are doing interviews. I think there's one more interview this week, and then we'll continue on to see how best we can fill that position. Other general matters that's been taking place, working on coordinating with the RM of Springfield. I do have a meeting with the CAO to talk a lot about Dugald. Dugald School, there's a bit of a sidewalk matter regarding where students are walking and the bus loop, so we want to take a look at that, making sure that our students are walking in a safe area. So depending on the weather, we may have to ask them and take a look at it for next year's capital plan for them, but definitely want that discussion ahead of time. Now that Holland Street has been extended, it brings up a safety issue along Holland Street, so we want to look at putting a road. We want to put up a fence along the road to make sure the soccer balls, baseballs, all that kind of stuff is contained within our school catchment yard. So we definitely have looking at fencing costs, and we want to see if Dugald, in the Dugald area, if Springfield would like to consider supporting some of those costs. And then, of course, the Dugald Daycare parking lot. So we've advised them that the board has approved. So now it's just a matter of continuing on with that project scope. So other things that we've been up to, reached out to Whitemouth. The RM of Whitemouth, as we toured the school in the area, the sidewalk was actually in really rough shape. So we wanted to bring it to the attention as we were talking about bringing younger students or ages 2 to 6 or 2 to 4 to our area, we wanted the RM to identify or recognize that the sidewalk is in kind of a poor condition. So we'd like to bring that to their attention. And also reached out to Landmark Planning regarding the enrollment document that the board has reviewed. So yeah, busy times.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? Karen?
With regard, excuse me, with regard to the non-eligible busing request, do non-eligible kids have to just get to where they need to get by, do the parents just have to get them there till the requests are obviously reviewed?
Yeah, so there's definitely a request that must be submitted. In the meantime, while, I guess the question is what happens with the students while they're waiting for answers? Yeah, so for the meantime, yeah, the parents are dropping them off or finding other alternatives. And it still doesn't mean that there's a guaranteed spot. If the bus is completely full and there are non-eligible students, or non-eligible bus student, and the bus, there is no room, there's likely no busing for them available.
Karen, that's been our process for some time, that unfortunately parents are on responsibility about driving kids until those decisions can be made with the transportation and through Jody's department, certainly about going ahead and doing that. But that's until we kind of know exactly what students are going to be on the buses, that's the decision that's been made for a little while.
And we don't know, like, before the end of August, like, which students need help. I'm just wondering, like, why we're already started the school year before we can determine, or make a decision. Sorry.
I think it's hard to make that full decision to ensure that all spaces are available. We have students that register on the first day of school, even afterwards. There's also, we don't know family history, what takes place over the summer. So there are students that move into the catchment area, some move out, some have split homes that we didn't know before the start of school. So there's a lot of moving parts that take place that, yeah, sometimes we know just before school starts and sometimes even after. So at this point in time, and even today, I had a conversation with our transportation manager, and we're looking at length times on buses. Definitely that 1 hour limit is very mindful in their world. And there are times where there are students that might be bumped from one bus to the next. Only because the length of time for pickup to one house to the next extends it by that 5 or 10 minutes, which brings it up to that 1 hour or 1 hour longer. So right now is the moment of time where the transportation department is really juggling and looking at things. And yeah, it's sometimes the last minute registrations from students that attend.
Any other questions for Jody? Thanks, Jody. Appreciate it. We're going to move on. Board business is report card data. It's Kath.
Awesome, thank you. This is the fourth time I think that we've brought this very report to the board, so I'm not going to go through all of the stuff on this part of the report, but I'm going to grab 3 bullets and highlight them. So again, all divisions in the province of Manitoba use a standard report card with the same categories and same grading and scoring criteria. So that Manitoba provincial report card is a pretty important and rich source of data. The second one I want to draw your attention to is that there are 4 areas that we look at. In mathematics or in numeracy, critical thinking and problem solving, and then in literacy, reading and writing comprehension. There are other categories, but those are the 4 that we've tagged and have looked at because there are struggles in those areas. So we want to see if what we're doing is helping or working. What you should be looking at on the next presentation or the next set of data is a high-level analysis would have you looking at what's happened in term 1 is if you have students who have 1s and 2s in term 1 and 2, and they are moving towards an increase of 3s and 4s by term 3. So when we grab and take a look at the data then, What you want to be able to capture is to roll through this data and say, if I take a look at the grade 1 to 6 critical thinking marks, this little black box in the corner tells you that you're looking at grade 1 students. And what I want to do is I want to look at that and say that this blue bar is students who have a 2 in the first term. This is the number of students who have a 3 and the number of students who have a 4. And what you can see happening here is the decline of the blue and the increase of the purple. And from a high-level analysis, that's what you want to be looking for, is do we have students who are progressing as they go through some of these things? What you will note as you go through the critical thinking is that that happens and there's a trend there. We have the ability to drill into schools and grade levels and genders and all sorts of different things, but that's what you're looking for when you look at these. Things that you will note is that when you get to the grade 7 and 8 level, when it comes to things like reading comprehension and writing, you begin to plateau a little bit. So when we start looking at reading marks in grade 1, you will start to see a really rapid jump in terms of some of the reading that's going on, from 77 who are sitting here up to 143. And isn't that great? Because that's exactly when it is that we want our kids to beginning to learn how to read. When we get into the higher grades, you'll watch that plateau a little bit because they're getting better at it and the work that they're doing isn't maybe as intensive. So we go along that spectrum and can see that that jump is happening as we go through those grades and get into 7 and 8. There are no alarming trends. There is nothing on here that I would say, oh my goodness, we need to be focusing upon. I think we have the right areas that are being looked at. From here, each school will also take a look at all of their report card marks in this fashion, and then use that information to try and inform what they should set their school goal at. So those report card marks become a really important piece for schools when they're setting their school plans and their school goals. Should they notice that they're having a difficulty in writing comprehension, they might flag that as a goal and say we need to do some work in that area. And they have others that they would look at the school level. So not a new report for you, hopefully getting used to looking at that report and having questions around what it is that's happening in our grade 1 to 8.
Thanks, Kath. Questions from anybody? All right. Go ahead, Trustee Harris.
Looks like that's last June's data. Obviously, we have nothing doing in the school for a couple of weeks. Can you tell if those results are a little lower this past year compared to a couple of years because of COVID, or have they stayed the same, or they just dramatically improved because everyone was home learning well?
Yeah, and that's always the struggle, and you know, we're looking at different groups of kids. So if I look at the grade 2s from last year, the grade 2s who just wrapped up in June, comparing them to the year before's grade 2s is a completely different group of kids. So from here, what we want to be able to do is to grab those struggling or those at-risk learners and say, what is their trajectory over time, and where are we meeting those students who need supports and bringing them forward and progressing? It's always a difficult piece because we want to look at that overview from grade to grade, but it is different kids that you're looking at. So that's a tough one. I also think that one of the things that I'm really super proud of, and I said at a principals meeting when we talked with our principals, the province has come out with some language around recovery learning, and we need to be recovering, and we need to be going back and getting the kids and bringing them up to speed on. In Sunrise, we have been doing that for the greater part of I don't know how long. We have met kids at where they are and brought them forward, and that's one of the things that I'm really proud about with the educators in this division. That's how we do business, is we meet children from wherever they are at whatever level they're at, and we bring them forward. So I think that's just one of those pieces that we want to keep doing.
That is a great comment, Kath, because the province is giving us funding for recovery learning, and you're right, the data is a high-level data. To drill down to know where we need to go ahead, your question is talking about our kids in whatever grades, and we have a divisional grade information. We don't have by school, but is there a school that there's more important recovery learning because one area isn't doing as well as another? Kathy then has that information. We don't have it, but and that's where eventually when we talk about what we're going to be doing, and Kathy's going to be showing us what they're doing with recovery learning dollars, you can use data to go ahead and show those kind of things.
So one of the other things that we do in the division are reading and writing progressions as well as numeracy progressions. So each kid in our system will have a reading and a writing progression that goes with them from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher. And so they will track that student and see how are they progressing through their reading and their writing and their numeracy skills. That wouldn't be directly reflected in the report card, but would be a best supporting actor or actress in terms of how those marks are coming up.
Anyone else? Questions? Trustee Duma?
How common are the tests that we do across the division? This collection of the marks, where does it come from?
So the marks on the report card have really solid criteria in terms of the outcomes that kids need to meet in each of the report card areas. There are not common tests, so every grade 5 kid doesn't write a common math test. That doesn't happen. The assessments that they do are not just tests. So these are report card marks, and this is the work that a student would have done all the way through the year. Every single piece of data, of tests, of conversations, of observations, of every single piece that a teacher has looked at. So those report card marks come from teachers against the outcomes of the curriculum.
So just to know that everyone is looking at the same common information based on the outcomes that the province requests. So there is PD with teachers on different grade levels, different subject areas, so people are all kind of looking at the same thing when they develop that report card.
I think that if you're getting at, is there a standardized assessment? So no, there isn't. It is something, though, that teachers have, as what Kathy talked about, they go through PD and they know what the outcomes are and how do they measure. So is it subjective with the teachers? It always has been. And I think that you're asking a question, and we've dabbled with that conversation, certainly about, are there standardized one assessments, and the province has gone away from all those kind of things. And it's certainly within the teacher's realm. Anyone else? Trustee Rowland?
Sort of further to what Robin's kind of alluding to, I think, is you've said that the report card data is not sort of like not apples to apples because different children are coming up from the previous year, so we can't maybe make that comparison. Is what I thought you had said, is you can't say that this year was any, this year's children can't necessarily be compared to previous years because of different pools of children and the data. So I think maybe what Robin was looking for, and I'm looking for, is there other metrics, or what other metrics are we looking at to determine, or are we wanting to determine, the impact of 2 years of COVID on the status of the children today? Like, if we can't use that necessarily that report card data to do that, because there was inherent differences in children, how can we measure, or are we making a wrong assumption that there is a problem with where the children are today, and how are we assessing that to go forward this year?
And I think honestly the answer is each kid at a time, because there are kids who thrived in COVID that we didn't think would, and there are kids who struggled because they didn't have the social efforts. And that's where I think those school personnel, be they teachers or EAs or principals, knowing their kids and using our class profiles. So class profiles and student profiles also happen in all of our buildings, where all of those teachers look at that and say, here's the kids that I have in front of me and what they're struggling with and what they're succeeding in and what are their strengths and their challenges. And that's one of those ways where by the teacher knowing who the kids are coming in, we can sort of see kid by kid who might need what, whether that's from COVID or whether that's from a family breakup or whether that's because we've just moved for the third time. All of those things would be addressed by us looking at classroom profiles and saying, what do they bring to the table? Not COVID specific, so that's a hard question to say. What is tied specifically to COVID? And I'm not sure that any division has the answer to that. If they do, I'd love to chat with them and say, hey, how are you doing it? We often talk about that in superintendent circles. What are you looking at? How does that measure? What do you do with that? I think our classroom profiles might be the best way, but again, each teacher looking at that.
Well, I think it's important. It doesn't matter whether the student is struggling because of COVID or because of moving, whatever it is. We, and you alluded to that, Kathy, is we look at each kid separate. Every kid is different. We look at, we say one learner at a time. We take the kid where he is and we move him forward. It doesn't really matter whether the difficulty was caused by COVID or whether it was by divorce or whether they moved or whether they had a major illness. It's our job as educators to make sure we move that kid forward. And I think that's where we should be spending our energy on, not trying to figure out what caused it as much as what can we do about it to make sure it's better.
Just to maybe clarify, is I don't necessarily need to specifically know why. I guess my query is there more? And as a board, is there more children falling in that category that, you know, might be more needing more? So my concern is going this year, as a board, do we need to put more money into something that, is there more recovery? I know we've been doing reading recovery forever and I love it. But is there something else that's missing to bring, like, is there more children falling in a category that need those supports that we should be looking for this year? Because I feel like, you know, we are at a new place, new school year, kids are coming back, supposed to be normal, and are they? So are kids the same is what I mean, so.
Honestly, I think that there isn't an accelerant. So time in front of a highly qualified teacher and getting good instruction and practice and exposure and all of those things, and I don't think we can accelerate that. If we could, I mean, I'm sure we could then just do K-12 in 3 years instead of 12. It's a tough one. So I think that honestly the answer is just high quality instruction and high quality attention to what each kid needs, and then they just need that time in that environment.
And I also think that the data that we have is divisional data. And so it's a high level, here's our grade 3s across, and you know what, we have, I don't know, 25 grade 3 classrooms and 500 grade 3 kids. I don't know if that's the case or not. So it's very hard to go ahead and do that. But when you're in a school and you can dig down and find out how the grade 1s did last year to now my grade 2s, who are the same group, to my grade 3s, and I can track them for 3 or 4 years to see how they were doing on reading comprehension and problem solving and those kind of things. That's when Kathy's also talking about, that's when our grade profiles are coming together and the teachers are getting some very good information from teachers in the past. One of the reasons that we're asking schools to come is we're also asking them to tell us a little bit of what are some of their needs. We had that from the Lac Du Bonnet principal last time that we got together. She clearly said when I asked the question, what is she doing, their goals were strictly certainly around, it was mental health, right? And she came out at the end when I said, what could you do? She said, probably another mental health worker or a counselor to help, and here's the data as to what's showing as to where we are. Because at the end of the day, we would like to see that they don't have those high caseloads and they're down on it. And again, then board then at budget time decides what we can go ahead and do based on recommendations. But that's what we're asking people to come and tell us, just like we asked Derek today, certainly about that, but that's kind of where we are. And the people in the front lines will be able to tell you how those kids are doing with recovery learning and those kind of things. I think that every principal that we're going to be coming in and asking elementary, it's a great question to go ahead and ask them. And they'll tell you. Anyone else? Yep, Diane?
Sorry, just on a side question. Do you know of any subject areas that are under review by the province presently?
I think the only one that they're looking at is that shift from the grade 12 provincial assessment to the grade 10. So they have a development committee who's looking to pilot that assessment. So the grade 3-4 assessments stay, the grade 7-8 assessments stay, but the shift from grade 12 to grade 10 is under development in terms of those provincial assessments.
Okay, thanks. We're going to move on. 8.2 is graduation data. Kath?
I think when last we spoke, we brought some graduation data, and there was a lovely little piece in here that says we can also look at some of the graduation data or the credit recovery, like the credit attainment data, and do a little bit of fun digging into some of the graduation data. So I wanted to share a little snippet from the credit pieces. These are the number of graduates we have per school. It's very lovely, fantastic. Many of you attended the graduations and they were in person, and we were very, very proud of all of these people who graduated this year. We handed out Sunrise medals to these people, and I want to actually hopefully pronounce their names correctly because I think they've done a great job. So Emily Shaw, congratulations. Serenity Poirier, Abby Pelland, Persia Sabanda, Samantha O'Shea, Geneva Wallman, Mariah Waldner, Megan Gross, Katarina Saxler, and Janaea Hofer. All got their top gold medals from the Sunrise School Board, and we're very proud of them. One of the pieces that has shifted in our society is that we sometimes don't take we don't take just the 4 years to get our diploma, and it's okay to take 5 years, and sometimes it's okay to take 6 years to get your credits in your diploma. So one of the things that we were looking at when we looked at the credit attainment was not just we start the year with this many grade 12s, because last year we started with 364 grade 12s. And at the beginning of the year, of those 364 grade 12s, there were really only 321 of them who had a shot at graduating. So it makes a pretty big difference whether I take this number of graduates out of the 364 grade 12s, or I actually do that out of the 321 who had enough credits to make it. The next step of that is, okay, what happened to those 43? Are they back? What are they doing? Are they going on to adult ed? Will they graduate in that 5th or that 6th year? Do they have individual education plans and are taking those extra years? But the difference maker would be that if I did the total of our graduates out of the 364 who just had that grade 12 label, we would have a grad rate of 85.4%. But when I take it out of the 321 who actually had the credits where they could attain that in school, it jumps to 96.9 in terms of the graduation rate that we have. And I think that's an important piece to note because it's tough. It's tough to take the extra year. It's tough not to be walking across the stage with those kids that you've spent 12 years with, but it's okay. And if there's any parent or kid out there who has their kid taking an extra year of high school, bravo. We will follow up with you to make sure that we're getting what you need out of that.
So just to follow with that line of thinking, so the 321 could be in their 5th year also, right? Okay.
The only bit of information is now we had 321s that had the possibility of graduating. And of those 321, so during last year, 97% of 96.9% of those kids went through. That's a good target for us to go ahead and take a look at as to where we are. If that target's around 80%, you know what? That would be then hopefully, well, Kathy would be kind of doing a where's it coming from? I think as to where it is. If it's in the school that I was the principal at, you know what? 8 out of 10 of our graduates are graduating when they had the ability. Now there's reasons. Life happens to people, right? But part of it is you want to make sure, you want to, as much as possible, have those in the high 90s as to where you are. Tracking the kids that are coming back because of all the other things that are happening in their lives is good information for us too. Schools do that. This is high level stuff as to where we are. Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Kath. We have École du Gold School grade 7 and 8 band trip to Moose Jaw and Choral to Moose Jaw Band and Choral Festival on a field trip in May. So be it resolved that the board approve in principle the École School dual field trip, grade 7 and 8 band students, Moose Jaw and Choral Festivals to Moose Jaw, May 15th and 18th, subject to superintendent's final approval. I need a mover and a second, or moved by trustee Duma, seconded by trustee Rowland. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Thank you. It passed 8-0. 8.4 is our strategic plan update that really is a kick in the pants for me about working with the board. Kathy's been talking to us. We said that we wanted to have it on here. We haven't done the work. We need to go ahead and do some work to it. Whether we get it done with this board or a future, we need to go ahead and do that. That's on there. Committee reports, 8.5 Policy Committee. Trustee Harris, anything to report from your Policy Committee?
We had a meeting scheduled for last week. We had some technical difficulties. We rescheduled it for this Friday. So nothing to report from that last week.
Thank you. 8.6 is our Finance Committee. Trustee Nicoll, you're the chair. Anything to report?
We had a meeting for September the 22nd. We rescheduled that to September the 23rd, so there is nothing to report on Teams. So if you wanted to listen in, not on a Thursday, it's on a Friday now from 1 to 3.
Thank you. Stacy, can you change that Trustee Pachikowski as the signing authority? I've been doing it for the month of September, so if you can go ahead and do that, that's just something I've been doing. Our Finance Committee check register, there is not one for us to go ahead and do, I'm assuming. Okay. Education Foundation, is there anything to report?
Just to bring everybody up to date, I have met with Philma Riley, and I think we have another scheduled meeting next week to go through the documents that are, we had to update the affidavit, remove Scott's name and put mine in there, so we're just updating the final version of the documentation, and that should be it.
Questions? Okay. Professional development, thanks Diane for letting us know about the forum that you guys attended. I think you and Russ attended. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. There isn't a divisional financial summary report that'll come that'll come the next time the Finance Committee meets. Board correspondence you've seen, and thanks Stacy for reminding me about getting that done, but we have the response to the Dougal Daycare. I think you guys saw it anyways, but thanks, it's in here just to respond to it. There's some nice to know information that's there. We have a couple of board meetings that are coming up. I guess the last official board meeting for this group is October the 18th. Okay. Press releases, I don't think that we have any. Jody, are there any questions from the public?
Yes, I have a question from the public. I received it earlier this afternoon. They requested that I could bring it to the board to talk about. And, yeah. And just to high overview, the question came from Lynn Gates from Garvin Road, Anola. The question was just to identify that she identified that her son was on the bus for just over an hour, and she wanted to know why is there not more buses on the road so the division can abide by the 1 hour policy and the students' rights.
So thanks for the question, and you want to go ahead and try to, yep.
Yeah. So I identified to her that the first process where she has concerns for transportation, I wanted to make sure that she's reached out to the transportation department to identify that, first of all, her concern. So she did not do that. So I gave her the contact information for our transportation manager, Jason. So this way we can look at, and I let her know, he will look at the different options, being aware of the 1 hour time constraint and how we can best fit that in. So what the transportation department will do now is kind of review the route, maybe reconfigure it. Either way, he will have either an option to bring and discuss with the parent. So that's where where we kind of are at.
So can you follow that up with us? As the parent has asked us the question, so can you follow that up with us and share with the board as to where we are? And so that we know, and if we happen to run into somebody in the streets, certainly we can follow up. So once you've got it, let us know. Thank you. Hey, Nicole?
Yeah, I just want to let people know about the Public School Act. Some of them think that the clause says that it must be no more than 1 hour. That's not what it said. It suggests that it's not more than 1 hour and that the school division should do their best to make it under an hour. So if it happens to be an hour and 5 minutes, no, the government official is not going to come down and slap our hands. That's not what they do. As long as, like for instance, in Whitemill, if you're going from East Braintree, if you pick up a person in East Braintree and don't pick up anybody else, I don't know whether you can get to Whitemill within an hour. So those kids are always on the bus longer than an hour. They have to, because there's no other way of doing it. So we're doing our best to do that. There's no other way that officially, unless we hire a helicopter, we're not going to get them there in an hour.
Helicopters for people in Whitemouth. That's what I kind of heard. No, Don, thank you very much. That is good. As people are listening, it is in the Public Schools Act, as you stated about us best. The whole idea is we try to keep, as we talked earlier, try to keep bus runs down as best we can. The rule of thumb is certainly within an hour. Sometimes there's some avoidable things, but good point. Any other questions then from public? Okay. Serena, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Grab a microphone. Okay, so there are no other questions. There are no other questions. We do need to move into in-camera. There are a couple things that we need to do. One of them is discuss the presentation that we had tonight. So let's take a 3-minute break, and then we'll go into in-camera and go from there. Jared, you got that?
I do, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So everybody has to refresh their screen as we move into whatever. Okay, now we're at 9:30. I don't see it on mine. I don't see it on mine.
Yeah.
Motion from in camera?
But you got back in record?
17.1? Yeah, but I have to vote to get it in here. Join meeting. I still don't have it. Anyways, all right, so we're back in regular. We have one motion to go ahead and do. And the motion is, be it resolved that the delegation request to be approved with conditions as discussed. Correct? Okay, and then mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Inslee, seconded by Trustee Reed. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. So the motion passed 6-2. Thank you for that. I don't think that we have anything else from in camera correctly, so we're adjourned. Karen? All right, we're adjourned. Safe ride home. Thank you for doing this. Oh, thanks, Don, for pinch hitting right in the beginning and kind of finding out right at the last minute. Thanks for going ahead and doing that. Appreciate it. And just to let people know,
thanks, Don.
There was no school in BC this year, today. BC had no school. because of the Queen yesterday.